hi Raymond, where are you now? Okay, take your next turning, you see Coca-Cola stand or grow stand. Then after that turning, but by the time a system understands that, guess what? You can build a system in place that can now be what attending to people who want to get to the event without human beings or being there. Now you can see practical advantages, right? Because now you don't have to rely so much on human beings because sometimes they would for inexcusable reasons, right, might not be available all the time or they get tired. What if we're holding a session or we're trying to direct people for a next day event and some of them are trying to get in by 12 midnight? Will they stay up all through and be waiting to direct those people? There's human limitation, and that is why the concept of AI has become not just something that we can what choose and pick. We have no option than to jump on it. Now let me ask you something. If this wait, so what happens to people that were doing those jobs? Now that might concern you if you're a student. If you're studying a course and you know that okay, this is some of the jobs available, you now know that what computers are now able to do your job because what the people who have done it in the past, the knowledge has been passed down to a computer that can do it efficiently without the excuses that oh I slept off, oh I got tired, oh I need to be on leave. Now it now begins to what position yourself to make sure that how can I ensure that I do not allow computers to also take my job. So why businesses can say, okay, let's use artificial intelligence to scale up our business, to constantly be active, constantly be online. People can also start thinking that, wait, if I don't position myself very well, do you see that there's already a what? A loophole there. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. Okay. I want to just first of all lay that foundation. Now, if you look at part of what I do is that I try to leverage data to tell why what has happened and to tell what will happen. I know we are believers and one of the gifts of God is what? Prophecy. And prophesying is like God telling a prophet or a man of God or a woman of God what will happen, like in the time past. For some reason, God did not create the world and leave data of the future. We only have data of what has happened. We cannot go on the internet and say that what will happen tomorrow and you see it and say it's certain. For some reason, there's no data of the future, there's only data of the past. Now, one of the things that we do is that I do for the longest time is to try and use data of the past to tell what will happen in the future for businesses. And I'm saying this because it leads into my next point. For you to understand what will happen or where we are going, you must understand where we are coming from. Most of us, maybe where I'm starting now, we might say, oh, we're not really there. I don't know about mommy and daddy if they were in that time. But in the very, very olden days, I'm talking about 17. What you see is that those that had land had wealth. Land was equal to wealth. What does that mean? You see someone, a rich man was someone that had a lot of land. Because what? We were predominantly farmers. So whoever had a land would what? Lease it out or farm. And then what? Produce a lot of yield. And then people will what? The person will make money. So you're using your lands or you're farming yourself to make what? Create wealth. Then some people sat down and thought about it over time and saw that wait, I was not born in a family that had land. How can I think of something to also break into this wealth? Now, please pay attention to this very well because this narration I'm giving is going to solve. It's going to give a lot of us perspective of how we can even change our lives. Coming to leading to this session. So people sat down and thought about it that what if I was not born? I mean, for some reason, God does not ask you before choosing the family you come from. Maybe there's a conversation in heaven. We don't know that yet, right? But I mean, I don't know. God chooses based on his own wisdom and understanding, right? Where you come from, the family you come from, sometimes you can have a conversation that, oh, why did I come from this family? Why is this person from this family and all of that? Because some people, it looks like they have it easy because of the family they come from. But there's always a loophole. God cannot create you without giving something for you to also scale. That's the honest truth. And I'm trying to trace the history of how we are getting to this point and how we can all leverage AI. While we're living in one of the most fantastic periods of the world ever. I don't think I would have loved to be created in this time I'm talking about. Land was supposed to work. I don't think so. So the kings, the people that had a lot of lands were the wealthy people. And some people thought about that and said, how can I break into this world? And they said that wait, these people that own land cannot farm it all. But if you create things like cutlasses, shovels, all of those things, create it at a large scale, which is what mechanized way of farming in a very little way. What are we going to do? We can either partner with them and say, see this land that you couldn't farm all of it. With our equipment and tools, we can partner and then farm and share the proceeds. So what happened? The people who could now make axes and shovels and all of those things became what? Very, very important, because now if you have the land and you can't farm all of it, they can bring the equipment and make sure that what everything was farming. It even was improve yields. So wealth creation now moved from landowners to the people producing equipment. So if you were born in a family that had land, thinking that you were safe, wealth was already shifting to the family that had what blacksmith. So it's not in those days, families were known for something, right? So you say this family is known for blacksmithing, they make poles and cutlasses, and this family is known for this. This family is known for carpentry work. If you trace back in the Bible, you see that Jesus, they will say that when you trace the history of Jesus, where does it lead to? Carpentry. That is how families were known. So it was inevitable that Jesus must have done work, carpentry work. Because when a man has aligned a lineage, a scheme for his lineage, every son must go through that process. Now, that was the next wave of what? Wealth shifting. Then, that was not just it. When yield increased because farmland and mechanized farming started coming together, what do you think happened? There was now a problem of what? Distribution. If somebody farms in Benue State, where I'm from, for example, they needed to get those yields in what? Lagos. Now there was what? A gap. So there's now a need for what? Distribution. And people what? Who could understand distribution jumped on it. Then wealth started what? Shifting again. So you can see, every time there's a new evolution of wealth creation, it makes sure it creates a new evolution. It is when we solve this problem that will now shift toward the next one. Is it making sense? I'm trying to tell us the history of why we as a people were where we are. So when we hear AI, let's know where we are coming from and what is the need for you. We might not understand the opportunity or the era we are living in until you understand that, wait, somebody who understood distribution there, in fact, he didn't need to pay a lot, just needed to jump on it early enough. See, check very well. All the people that probably are the most serious millionaires today, they jumped on an industry early enough. I'm not giving an example at this point because we might not know those people. But when we get to an era where we can all relate to, I'll start calling names. Is that okay? Are we following? Yeah. So we spoke about agricultural age, land equal to wealth. We spoke about industrial age, which was machines. People who could build machines created the wealth. We went to the distribution age. Those that could move the use of the product were the ones that was creating wealth. Then, if you look at if you're someone that researched a lot and watched, maybe is interested in watching his history documentaries, you will maybe watch like Men Who Built America. I recommend it. You can go and watch it. So you hear people like Kennedy Mellon that started creating rails, started using steel to create rails to move crude oil and all of that. Some people started manufacturing ships. This was when people started thinking about flying, because there was never a need to move things that fast and large. until we could what create enough yield or output for what that need to now arrive to either move people, to either move goods, or to move what services. That was what created what the distribution age. Then after that, we need to now scale this. Distribution was a bit slow. We now started thinking about what technology. And I already gave the example: aeroplanes, ships. How can we build technology to leverage water as a movement channel? How can we build something that flies through the air? Technology started coming in because what? Distribution created the what? Net pay. So those who could create those things inevitably became rich. I don't want you to see what if you have not taken anything from what I'm saying so far. I want you to understand that don't ever let your background keep your back on the ground. Because when we started, people were naturally rich because they were born from families that had land. But somebody talked about that. How can I make sure that the landowners needed me? And if you're born from a family that had land, guess what? You'll never think about another alternative. So that has always been the evolution of things. Okay. So I'm going to try and skip through it a bit fast. And as time was going on, the distance between the number of years between one wealth pathway to the other, the years started shrinking. Now we're kind of living in a collapsed wealth creation age. Just have 5 minutes. Oh my god. Okay, I'll try and rush. So this happened until technology started evolving over time, where we had the lieutenants, we have people that can make content and all of that, to this present age where we now have AI. Now, why I wanted to give us this background is that with the AI that we have in place, it's actually another new phase. Because AI is still a buzzword, we can hear about it, we're hearing about it. It means that if you can be interested enough to jump on it, you're going to create something for yourself. Because it does not matter those that build banks, it does not matter those that build telecommunication companies, it does not matter those that build fintech. Now there's a new era on board. I'm speaking to you guys as someone that's also in this new era of building. So when tomorrow you hear my name as bigger than now, you know I didn't hold the secret of what I was doing. And there's no, if you understand the history, you know that there's no doubt about it. I say you don't believe in God. You will do it, there's no doubt about it that it will not work out. So that is something that you must take. So it does not matter if you're a student, if you're building a business. How can I use AI to build myself that I can make more income than I could have ever made in the past? Guess what now? In an era of AI where if you want to start a business, you can start a one-man business, right? If you want to build your website, you can go to AI, any AI platform. Today you can go to Kimi, you can go to Canva, you can go to Stitch, you can go to different AI platforms and what? Prompt it and say, okay, let's do a practical example for a bit, right? If you have your phone, open your phone, right? And open your phone and let's use Claude. Let's use Claude. CLAUTE, Claude. And if you cannot do it now, you can do it at home. And give it an idea that say, I'm interested in anything, event planning, I want to build a business, help me create a website for myself, for my business, that I can publish out there. And you see that you don't need to go and be looking for a developer to be able to build your business. You can go to, if you want to see the design first, you can go to Stitch and say that I'm trying to build a business, or I'm trying to build my church website, I'm trying to build my school website, I'm trying to build a personal brand portfolio. Please help me create this. Your English does not have to be fantastic. You just have to find a way to communicate your idea to these platforms. Now, other people are even going as far as creating automations, right? Which is one of the things we wanted to cover here. What is automation? What human beings used to do manually, now you can have what? Use AI to what? Automate it. I'll give us a practical example. Our work. A lot of people need data in different ways, right? And they're always coming to my team. Oh, want this data, want this data, want this report, want to check it. And I built something very simple where I I put like a platform where you just go there and speak your English, the same way ChatGPT works, but now just for our company. Because what? I'm able to leverage other AI platforms like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and all of those other platforms, right? We're able to build it to say that, okay, you already know what to do with data. This is the data we're going to use. This is the English this person is going to add data from. And people can do deep research. What if you wanted to do brand and marketing? You don't need to be a brand and marketing expert, right? I'm not saying the way I don't. You don't need to be a brand and marketing expert. At least at a very slow entrepreneurship, you can start something for yourself. You can build something for yourself. You can say that I'm trying to do a laundry business. How can I market it? Who are the people should I be targeting, right? And what would I do? What market research should I be doing? How should I price? Who are the laundry business in my area? And AI will do all of those and create it for you. And you can have a conversation. Before now, you needed a serious budget to have that level of what? Expertise from what? Consultants, experience. But you don't need that again. You just really need to open your eyes to the possibilities that are out there, because AI is making everything, open up everything in the world. Now you don't need to say, I don't have money, I don't have budget, I don't know what to do. Anything you can do or you can think of, you don't even need to. In fact, sometimes I even say, I even go to, if somebody, I don't understand Yoruba, my wife is Yoruba, I don't understand Yoruba. If she says something to me, I'll put on here, I have so if I'm going to meet, let's say, someone, one of our uncles or anything, I'll just ask this morning if I can speak to my uncle to impress my uncle. And then he tell me, they say, oh, my uncle works in this kind of place, this. If I'm meeting, how should I behave? Yeah, I will tell you. If I'm going to meet somebody and say, oh, Mr. Emmanuel is this. If I'm meeting Mr. Emmanuel, how should I talk to Mr. Emmanuel? He will tell you what to do. So it's helping with marketing, it's helping with branding, it's helping with every facet of your business aspect that will help you scale. So I wanted to mention some of the tools that we can leverage. N8N, right? Instead of writing it down so I can check them out. N8N is used for automation. Anything you want to automate, N8N, number 8, N8N. And these are skills that you can go on YouTube and learn. You can go on YouTube and learn and see how you can your business. Then we have Canva. You can use Canva to do designs, flyers, anything. Don't pay someone money to design a flyer for you. I run a business. Most of the things I do, you'll be surprised. I do them myself. I send proposals. When I attend a meeting with a client, a potential client, I'll record the meeting and then use the meeting, conversation from the meeting, and then send it to Gemini or Claude and say that we had this meeting, this is the meeting notes. Please, what do you think these people need more than what I'm offering them? Because it will not create and say that, oh, it's not offering them that you can automate for them. No, what they want is that offer brand and marketing for them. That's what they need most. So the AI can be used in different ways. I wanted to quickly mention other tools as well. Make.com, if you want to build anything like your app, you want to build at make.com. You can also leverage that. You can research those outside there. Then if you're a student and you want to, sometimes you have a contract with somebody wants you to build for them, somebody wants you to do it, and you have a contract. They send you a contract. You're not a legal person, you don't know what to do there. You can take that contract, upload it on Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, or any of those, and say that, tell me if this contract has some loopholes. So you see, you don't need a legal person at the very least. So starting, you don't have that money to be hiring a lawyer, hiring this one, hiring this one. I said a lot. I'm sorry. Thank you very much. So you can also use that. If you want to sketch a design of what you want to do, but you're not sure yet, right? You can also use teach.com, right? It's by Google. It's Google that owns it. I mentioned Canva. I mentioned OpenClaw. We have something these days that we're calling agents. Agents are, if you want someone that handles your customer care, you can create an agent for that. So they call it agentic AI. I'm just here to activate us into what we set into this thing. I will not be able to teach us AI from within 20 minutes. But go and set agentic AI, agentic system, where let me give us an example of agentic system. And that is, let's say the head pastor supposed to preach on Sunday. We know what he's supposed to do. I am supposed to come and talk. The man is supposed to coordinate and do planning. If you understand everything everybody does, you can build different agents that we come to church, we'll be at home, and everything will function. Because then you would have said that this is what I want to preach, this is the Bible verse, this is this thing. When it gets to that time, the agent for preaching will stand up and preach. The agent for planning will stand up and do so. Agents are working together. When they are working together, you have what? Something where we are going to. People will be having meetings and they say, let my agent join. And you enter a meeting and no human being will be there. Because everyone understands that Raymond is here because he wants to understand the data needs of the team. Emmanuel is there because he wants to understand the engineering needs of the team. This one, and then the agent will discuss and then send the notes back to us. And then we're doing other things. So while the meeting is going on, we're busy doing other things. So you can see how multitasking can become a human being because we are leveraging what? Agentic AI. I know my time is up. And maybe I'll discuss a bit more because I had some practical use cases that I wanted to discuss more, but I want to respect the time of the time allotted for. So I'll just stop here and see if you have questions, then I can take them later. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Raymond. Right, you agree with me that that session was eye-opening. Please, will you the second mic for our second speaker? First speaker, rather. The second mic, please. So, a lot has been discussed. I think one of the captivating parts was when he said, when we are having a Sunday service, maybe our pastor will just be at home and his agent will just be speaking to us, agentic AI. It means that everybody can also be at home and our agent can be listening on our behalf. We hope it will get there. And I think those are some of the things that people are scared. You will hear that people are saying, you want to sell something that you want to do marketing, and then maybe you can even be agentic AI that will do the marketing for you. And the question will then be, Mr. Femi, do you think there's a threat in that? Right? Do you think AI, because one of the things is that people are afraid that AI will take a lot of people's job. Right? They say AI will take my job, this and this. But how can we position ourselves? Okay. Or before we even get to that, is this assertion true that AI will take our jobs? And if it's going to, how can we position ourselves for the next phase of life? Because yes, AI has come to stay. Right? I personally use it. Right? There's a project that we write, but maybe I take now less than a week, you're already shipping it out. Right? So how can we ensure that we position ourselves? So the first question is, I'll be coming to you, Mr. President. With AI, the assertion or the bias that people have been saying that AI is likely to take our job, is it true? If it is, how can we position ourselves for the next phase of technology? Mr. Raymond.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'll say it's both true and not true. And I tried to answer this earlier by saying that there's always a shift. Anytime your jobs are taken from other, or wealth is taken from other, it's given to other people, right? And that is just what the mindset we need to have. So AI is inevitably going to take people's jobs. And those are the people, AI is not here for everyone's future. It is those who will not learn how to leverage it to be a lot faster. Let me give an example of what people are understanding in the world. Before, Emmanuel already mentioned, right? If you have a project, they'll tell you that this project will take 1 month. But even stakeholders who cannot write codes are now beginning to understand that what this project can be done in 1 week. Because if Emmanuel still keep telling people that this project will take 1 month, guess what? He's not the only one who are engaging. They're engaging other people too. And when you go to another person and the person says I can do it in 1, they don't know why they can do it faster. They just need it done faster. So in your own various field, if you're a brand marketing person, how can I make sure that I am producing the best quality work in the shortest period of time because I'm leveraging AI? Those that AI will replace are those that are not able to leverage, because as a human being, you have limitations. But if you have a tool on the market that can help you become better and more efficient, those are the people that people will be going to. I hope this answers.
Okay, thank you. Basically, you say those that can't leverage AI, then they are the risk of losing their means of livelihood or their job. Thank you so much. Earlier before Mr. came up, we spoke about digital marketing. Well, some of us came a little late, and Mr. Olufemi went to personal branding. And one of the things we said on personal branding is that we need to build our personal brand, and gave an example of a CEO in white and red. And some of us will do that CEO, white and red. Anytime you see somebody putting, and sometimes you see red tie, red socks, right? I do that. Some of us know the person. If you don't know, that's what I think our guy told you. Everything he does today, you can I think most of the meetings, and you always see that. Oh, this man is going so. If it's on the get go, he's always putting it out there. Now, on this personal brand, what do you think? Because some of us are shy. There's some people here, they are shy, they don't like posting. So, how do you think we can overcome this limitation that will ensure that we enhance our personal branding? What are the steps you think we can take to ensure that we boost this our personal brand, especially for those that are struggling with even put themselves out there?
Thank you. So it can be dicey when you see people who are putting out themselves, who are making videos, talking about their brand, and they are the shy type. Are the ones that you cannot face the camera, you struggle with. Once you see the camera, you run away, and then it makes it look as if it's a threat to you. But then there are different ways that it can be approached. And now that the event of AI now, you can just like the way the bow of our speaker was being read now audio basically. So it's not someone actually made the bow, it's an AI and it's audio part of it. So if you have issues with the camera documenting and all that, you want to make it, you can switch to making just having a picture of yourself and put on the caption. So it can be either voice, you can have voice to text, you can have just a plain design, you have use your AI, but you just record yourself audio, and you can use Canva also, and then you add the audio to picture, it makes it a video. But then this time around it's from text to audio, text and then an image basically. So there are different versions, there are different things that you can get to. So you don't have to, like I said earlier on, like identity is one thing. You have to first know what you can do and what you can do. Everyone of us have one particular thing that we can do better than us. So once you find out that thing, you're just happy that you can talk, be like talk. When you can talk. And then you have the leverage to push your personal brand out there. So you just can be your outfits. You know how to dress well. So you can just be having pictures of yourself. You don't have to not make it just pictures. Post the pictures, your Sunday outfits, your Monday to Friday outfits. So that can be your personal brand. So it just another person does do that. You take the picture like I mentioned earlier on. So just post that, put that out there. You don't have to make a video. You don't have to go with every other person. Find your niche. Once you understand this is what you're good at, then just leverage it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Olufemi. Find your niche. I wanted to say, I wanted to say, how do you go about finding your niche? But I know that we can't cover a lot of all those things. I don't know whether people speak about that. How can one as an individual find his own niche? Just 2 seconds.
All right, so to find your niche is tied to identity. It's tied to finding and understanding who you are. So like you mentioned earlier that understanding yourself is knowing what are the things that you are good at. If someone wakes up in the morning and asks you to do this thing, you should do it with ease and all. So those things, so it could be writing. Writing is a niche. Making pictures, making videos, that's what is a niche. It could be also handwork. Handwork also is a niche. So all these things are like that different niche. So once you understand that we are good at this particular part, so it's called a niche, and then you just focus on it and you'll just get better.
Thank you so much. I hear there are questions in the congregation or from our audience. So please, just read. Sorry. Should I read? Thank you, sir. So please, just want to take questions from. Okay, I think we should do this because of our time, so that it's not just open. If you have questions, can they indicate so that we do this session?
We got big number.
Okay.
I think
Please
we
indicate.
let that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so 8.
8. Okay, we just take 8.
Yeah.
Because of our time, we'll just take that.
1
1 minute. Thank you so much. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, facilitators. Incidentally, in the course of the week, stumbled on the research that the findings were mind-boggling. Part of the findings was that Gen Z, an evaluation happened, and it was a conclusion of the research that the generations that existed before Gen Z were way smarter and more intelligent and more creative in their thoughts. And at the conclusion of it, the research found out that some of the technological advancements that we are witnessing these days makes the brain retarded and lazy. It's like an Indomie package. And if care is not taken with the advent of what we are seeing and some of the things you know, presented, if care is not taken in a short while, the brain that's supposed to be a thinking tank will become dormant. So that to me poses, even though the advantages are enormous, but that to me poses a lot of challenge to this generation and some of the things AI is pushing out for us. So how do you respond to that? Thank you.
Sorry, let me add. I was in with someone in one office, and he said when people write mails, and eventually you get to meet them, that's practical life. You see a sharp difference between what you were seeing in the mail and the person you now interact with. They are not up there as good as the mail. You understand?
All right. So I will start by referencing the first question I asked. So we asked about how AI jobs, and then so after a practical example. So about decades ago, before the implement of planes, we used boats to travel. That was what we used for boats. And then when plane came, people were skeptical of going on planes, boarding planes, because they were not sure of safety. So it was a big event. But along the line, people started using the train and using the plane, and then it makes traveling faster, and you will be able to move so instead of spending 1 week on the sea, you can spend an hour on the plane and you get to where you're going to. So it's the same thing also with AI now. AI makes what 2 hours make faster. So I'll give a practical example. So about I think it was the last week of January. So I went to do a 10 days of gratitude before my birthday. And I went to just make each day have a different signal meaning. And the first thing I came to my mind was to go to ChatGPT to get things to write out. But then it just struck me that I'm already assigning my thinking, which is what you mentioned, to ChatGPT. But what we need to realize about ChatGPT now is that it's not supposed to take away the mind thinking of a human. Because ChatGPT will give you errors. It's prone to errors. So because it's what you feed into it, that you feed out to it. And that's how you find out that a lot of people in this generation, our young ones, are now relying more on ChatGPT for projects. Just feed it in. But then you are meant to do the thinking first, not how you want it to be, and then serve it to ChatGPT for you to refine it for you. Because once you outsource your thinking to an AI, automatically you are because I mean like earlier that the brain is very powerful, and scientifically we've been told that we are not using a percentage of our brain. We are not really using the brain. We are using small percentage. Even with events that we have, we're making this because I mean I was take time to even sit back to think about how our day went yesterday. None of us really do that. We don't think about what we did yesterday. We don't try to remember or think on that. We're not using our brain. So now we now move down to using ChatGPT to get this thing done. The AI invention is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. But now the question is, are you going to outsource your life to AI, or you still want to be in charge? AI will take jobs, but then AI will also give jobs. Sure. So now, yeah, we have to find in between both of them. Are we going to outsource our life to, or are we going to take charge of it? So I don't want to answer that question.
Thank you so much. You want to quickly respond to that? Thank you.
Okay, that's a very good question. And I wish I also read the research you read. Oh, yeah, please do. What I can say is that I don't see an erosion in knowledge per se. I see a shift, and that's the key difference, right? We sometimes take a small sample to be a whole, and that's the mistake of humanity sometimes. You see, when I look at my young niece, my small nieces, the intelligence they put out, I don't think, like you can drop a device and they might be able to solve it far faster than even myself. Does that negate that? They're also intelligent in a different way. Now, we're making research can make it look like it is all of us that, or all our parents that were in that generation that created cars, aeroplanes, those high intelligence or medication, or even these AI tools. But just a fraction of people were really knowledgeable to even build to that level. Now, I see why I say I see this is a shift is that it's not that it's making people less smart, right? It might make some people, but it's also giving people a platform where even without well-equipped formal education, you can actually still be productive. And that's the way I like to see it. You can still be productive. Even if somebody cannot read and write, you can have a tool that helps them. But in the past, anybody that didn't go to primary school, secondary school, couldn't even do anything. But now, people are able to do that. So I think it's just for everyone to leverage it, but to understand personally that I don't want to outsource my whole thinking capability to an AI. I want to know what I want to do, but have AI assist me to do it a lot better. That has been the goal. But I think it's just a shift. The intelligence now cannot be compared to what it meant to be intelligent in the past. That's my answer.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. We're going to go to our next question, but before then, sir, I should also ask you that. So I was working on a project in the office. So like, today I went to school, and I looked at, I said, no, there is something off here. This is not what I said. So then I told you what, this is what it is. So I said, oh yeah, you're right, I did something. That was something. I'm going to do it. We went ahead, corrected, I look at, okay, yeah, this is what I said. Done. So it basically means that first of all, I know I will do that thing. Yeah, but I need to be done faster, so I leverage AI. So it means that our thinking, AI should not take away our time. Rather, it should enhance and will help us to move faster, deliver that thing at an incredibly faster rate. I was coming there because one of the things that is coming out is that a lot of people, like I said, they already outsourced their thought process. I don't even think again. Right? When they want to do something, just due to AI. One want to do anything, it has become their lifestyle. And when they come outside, you realize that the person has nothing to do. So, and I think those are some of the ethics and risks that we tend to develop. There was a question about risks and ethics, but I think gradually we are addressing them. But because of our time, move forward. Please, the next person.
Thank you very much. Thank you, the two speaker. If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Alimuche is from Chief. From Google. My It's not really a question. I just want to make a contribution, especially to the next gen. While you were speaking, I noted this one. The one that how can I create or how can I bring into wealth, even when I'm not born, if you are not, I don't have a wealthy background. It's very simple. I try to answer that question if you didn't get it well. You see, in this generation, going to school or having to study one course or the other, it's not about just studying anything. What I see in addition, in attachment to that the course, is by thinking and having the mindset of transmitting that knowledge, that intelligence to technology, and which my guy has really dealt with. It's not about you just looking, it's not about you just saying that you can do something, this is what you read. You have to think ahead. You know, you have to think ahead, you have to be smart, you have to move with time, you know, so that you don't be left behind. Because this AI thing that we are talking, it's just another name for robots. You know, during our time, it was robots. And we're looking at it, we say, wait, this robot will take our job. So now, there's another sweet name for it now, AI. You know, this generation, they don't like too many words. Just artificial intelligence, AI. But Daniel, you know about robots, right during our own time, we see it all over. But we never thought that it was probable. Those that were smart, I'm sure they are the people that are behind this bringing out AI. And you said something. And you said, don't let your background. Okay? Keep your back. Don't ever let it do that. Because you are only poor if you think to be poor. And you can be rich if you think to be a rich person. So learn how to create wealth in the midst of what you are passionate about. Your needs, your identity, just as my brother said, try to create wealth, try to solve problems, try to see that you are adding value to yourself, number one, and you are adding values to your environment. And by so doing, you are breaking into wealth. And that is it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, mommy. Thank you, ma'am.
Because of our time, we limit it to one minute, please. 1 minute.
I want to appreciate our speakers. Thank you so much for the enlightenment. My question is that, sir, you really, you have done well, giving us some other tips and some apps. But what I noticed online is that all these so-called apps, they kind of, you have to pay for it. And me, that I know that I'm not earning in dollars. Do you understand? You see it maybe in $300, $500. You see it in a 50. The least you can see is $100. If I'm not mistaken. So, is there any way we can beat this the difficulty in name just now? Then we can do all there is a free version, even free version. All this called Leonardo here. They will give you credits, like giving you credits. That credit is not enough for you to do some other things.
Okay.
So how can you say?
Okay, that's a very good question. Okay. So I know part of this theme of this, I'll just use the compliance part. Our children of God. I'm not going to say, oh, there are ways where we can beat and use. If somebody has worked hard to put something out there and want people to pay, let's respect that and pay, right? Well, I want to say that most of the tools I was mentioning, to be honest, are free. And the free bandwidth can help you achieve. It is when you want to use AI at an enterprise level. This is something I use every day, right? The cloud I use for my personal business, I paid 14,800 per month, and my whole team uses it. So what I would just do is that anytime you want to do something, right? Let's say I need the best AI to review legal agreements. Now go to Google or go to any other AI engine that you already know, Gemini, and ask them which AI is best for this, and they'll give you free version, right? So, and I want to quickly touch on something. Our mind has the mind of its own. Sometimes when you're motivated, your mind will be trying to give you excuse as to why you can't do it, and that's the trick of the mind. But these free resources can actually help us start and scale to a point where we make enough revenue to be able to now start paying. But let us not think that paying is what is not is stopping us from even starting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. My two facilitators. My question directs to Mr. Raymond. When you started an example that our daddy with the robots, not come to church and others, then I want to take you now back to school business. You know, everywhere now, lack of teachers. Then how can we leverage this AI to replace those teachers?
That's actually a very good question. And the way I would think about it is that there's something that as much as we pass artificial intelligence into, you know, when I define it as artificial intelligence, when I say understand what somebody does, give it to a computer. One thing that has been extremely difficult for the tech people in AI to achieve is to pass emotions. Now, emotions is extremely complex. If we say we want to train somebody to be train AI to be a teacher, how do we also train the component of emotions? How do we pass emotion to say that this student that is late consistently has a sick mother? Then how do we pass emotion that this person that because two people in the class understand the topic does not mean the whole class understands it? How do we make sure that we need to give more examples, relatable examples, because of different backgrounds of people? Now it's difficult. But where I would also say this is important is that if you start going to remote areas where government is not able to pay people, then using AI to at least get people to start might be a very good place to start. But I would say that where people can get to and be used to train, we should be using AI. AI should only be leveraged in areas where there are no people or teachers or government cannot pay, or you want to help the community. Then yes, we can leverage AI. But that's my own personal take on it.
So just as a question of Mr. Raymond, so there's a startup in Peter. So during COVID time, schools were closed and everybody had to be at home. So they made a device. It was not a tech device, round, not very round. So what it was, they got and also so they also that remote areas in the state they had less teachers, very few teachers. So they had enough teachers to they told them to do online recording of different subjects, and then they now embedded it into that device. That device is a remote device, and so it does not need much internet. So it's connected to a server, and so the students have just come to the class, and then they have laptop, and they just connect to that device, and they can access all the courses on that device. So that's an example of how AI and automation they will be able to start. This is 2020, and now I think in 2022 they got funding for Microsoft for that, and they're able to expand for that. So that's also an example. So, but then if you need teachers to be able to still direct students, but then you don't need much teachers. Just direct.
Okay, just want to chime in, then go to the next person. So for that, I think one thing Mr. Raymond is making, just like Mr. Femi said, automation. So it means that if you can leverage automation, some of those things we teach in classes, you can have them recorded to go a long way. That alone means that you can have self-learning. Some of us take classes online today, Udemy, Udacity, Coursera, and a lot of them. All those classes are recorded. And then they have classrooms where you can go and interact with your fellow classmates. So that can also help the school. But that does not take away the fact that the school should check itself. Is it like they're paying people right? Sometimes schools meant to be paying, imagine schools paying 30,000 for somebody with master. You're expecting that the people will wait, right? So you realize that even AI too, it might be difficult to even have AI because they don't have money. So it means that they also need to do some work on their side. But automation will definitely help the schools, in my opinion. So thank you. The next question. Number 4. Who is number 4? Number 4.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, my question is, how can we limit software development? Because most of, like, maybe use school as an example. Their apps, they choose what they're developing. Their videos, they choose what they're developing. How can we leverage it into it? Because it's always manually nowadays.
Okay. How can we leverage software engineering in hospitals, right? Really,
I'm actually thinking if I should answer this question because this is a very, very practical example of how we can leverage AI. And when you say hospitals, I like to believe that you are also very, very particular about a particular geographical area because the hospital in this vicinity versus Ikoyi, their needs are different or what they are connecting to. So how about I throw it back to you and maybe any other person that is interested to say, go to Gemini and ask that I live in this particular area. We have 1 or 2 hospitals and I'm thinking how can we leverage software development to cater to these hospitals? If I answer everything now, you're going to be limited by the knowledge that I give you, right? I'm not connected to any web search here. But if you go to that, it will give you a lot of perspective, right? To be able to help you think more deeper. But of course, we all know how software can help every organization, automating the systems, making sure that people's drugs are not misplaced, or sometimes you can go to a doctor to write something. The pharmacist does not really understand, but instead of asking a question back, right? They will not just give you whatever they think is nearest to that. And people have died because of that. But what if the doctor entered the medication on the system? That way the doctor handwriting is not an issue, right? Those are some common ways that you can make sure that software development solves some issues at the hospital. And especially grassroots hospitals have these common issues, right? Running out of stock. Medication is out of stock. You go to the hospital, they say, oh, we don't have this medication. So they're giving you something close to what that should have been. Right? So all of these create issues of its
thank you. So just to also add to that, so if, like I said, if you look at the area you want, I think you mentioned something about things being manual. So speaking more of automation, just to look at which area do you want to automate. Is it the attendance management? Is it drug stock taking? Is it drug prescription? You just have to look at, so hospitals around here have some of them, right? Where from checking down to the drug prescription, right? They do have that. But a lot of those ones, especially those government ones, some of them still struggle. Yeah, they are doing that. Good enough. I think dollar is far in payment of some of them, but it's gradually becoming a thing, right? And I believe we'll better. But how you can do it is look at the challenge just keep facing and then start with automation. Once you automate, then it's the next level of bringing innovation in terms of how can you then add extra features to these things that are automated, and then that's where money will come in, right? You make more from them. Thank you. Next question.
Thank you very much.
Number 5.
President. Okay, so I'll start with the first one. Those people who have opportunities, those who have opportunities going to probably any parts in university, mid-90s, and all that. I think that typewriter was a thing, right? And when computer started coming into place, people were shouting that they will lose their job. And indeed, a lot of people did lose their job, or a lot of jobs were created. But one of the problems is that we discovered that most of those who were actually glued to the typewriter thing, most of their era, number one, didn't have the uh, people blame it on skill set. Of course, they wouldn't have it. Okay, and we're normally training. But what we find out, most of them then practically lost that, business circle. All right. My question would be, when the AI prompting us to move to another level happens, okay, what's happening? Why is it that the sole responsibility of shifting people is on them? Do you get me? Like, I am 90. I just want to get, I'm 70. I do typewriting. All right. And when AI is coming, everybody just saying you have to shift, right? From okay, because of that. Why is it that there's no system that makes it possible for that shift to just be on me? Because I was close with a lot of aged people then, and I discovered that there was no way you're going to train somebody who was 56. All right, then who only depended on time, right? All right, why is it so late? Then one, that's the first part. Second part is that yes, I also I've seen a pattern. Gemini, Google, and all that, and we have a lot of intelligent, so to speak, people in Nigeria and Africa. Why does it always seem to me like the African man is just waiting? Yeah, we have some Africans who are building it, but it always looks like we always wait, all right, for something to happen from somewhere, all right, before we now begin to now dance along. Why are we always dancing along? All right? Why are we always there? Like I said, there are other few things, right? Why are we always, like a Nigerian boy is waiting for PS6 to be out, whereas a Chinese child is involved in building PS7. Okay, no, why is it like that? For those of you who are in that field, is it a cultural thing? Is it a Nigerian thing? Is it a government thing or something? All right, because we keep coming here to talk about next phase in AI, and we're actually talking on where some people have left, and they are looking to the next. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I'll start with the last question. So earlier on, I was hammering more on identity, and that's because that's one of the major problems that we have in Africa. I don't say Nigeria now, it's an identity problem. And so I said it because if you look at if you take a sample of different people in Africa, in Nigeria, and ask them what they want to become, what they want to do, what they want to what they're interested in. You hardly find someone tell you what they genuinely want to do, but to be basically on what they've seen other people do. So let's take sample size and do another sample for maybe someone in China and say about from their little age or maybe like 18 or thereabout. You see this young one, they have like a direction of what they want to do. You see them put their hand on different things. And that's because they understand their strengths. They've been trained to understand their strengths. They understand what they want to do. They know that I'm skilled at this thing, and they keep pushing on it. So that brings me back to Nigeria, to Nigeria basically. And then I would say that we are not trained to this, or school did not do this, school did not do that, and we don't have much knowledge. But then the question lies in individuality. You know what you want to do. What are your skills and what are your strengths? I think I would have seen several videos of people who assemble cars in Nigeria. Young people assemble cars on factory. People who build things. Even the CNG also was tried in Nigeria also at some point before it became a global thing and all. So now the question is the thing of the mind. So I'll say the thing of the mind. And then we say ourselves as we are being limited because we are Nigerians, we are Africans. We are being limited. And we are being trained for things that we get to say every now and then makes our mind limited to things. So, and the example is also. So if you ask people who pay for 2 services. And a lot of people would want to tilt towards wanting it, even if you have the money. And that's because, so it's not like it's the bad thing, but it's of the mind. So first of this, what are your core strengths? And then are you pulling towards your core strength? You can write. How many things have you written? Or you love to read other books, you love to read novels or novel authors and like, but then how many books have you written and published? Have you found out how can you publish your book? And then you look at, you like to give things to your hand. You have ideas, you look at ideas for things. Well, have you made efforts to push forward or to do those things? Or how can you bring the idea to life? What can you talk to? So, but then you find that, so like it's a popular quote that says that the brain is where we have the richest ideas. And that's because you find a lot of cool ideas you don't get to move forward. So I see it as a challenge for us in Nigeria and Africa. And then I would say that we have to first understand and find out what our core strength is. Because if we are going to build, you cannot build on what other persons are building, or what other persons are building on it. You have to build on what you see as your core strength. I also mentioned, I'll not say this finally that there's something that a lot of businesses in Nigeria do not live more than 30 years old. If you look at more Nigerian business owners and all, their business do not live more than 30, maximum 40 years old, and that's because no structures, no system. You say well, that's outside or maybe with the individuals biology about, but then you find other businesses that are 100 years old. You look at businesses across the world. They've lived even beyond the owner. The owner has been there for like maybe decades, but then are still living. But then so it's still based on our mindsets, and then it starts with every one of us. You're not used to innovate. You're not very young to come up with ideas. So to challenge any one of us here, so I would say that go and build anything, everything. Nothing is very ridiculous. Someone built Lego. So Lego is this what's it called now? Block that children use to play, to build up things and all. So it was someone that came up with that idea. So nothing is really relevant. And don't let your background make it limit you. But no, you said a lot of things today, and then I know if I was to take anything from this conversation, that your present situation should not be your limiting factor, and then that has been what has limited other people have come forward in the generation. So go ahead and build, but find who you are first.
Thank you very much. Maybe 1 minute after.
Okay, so I'll try and answer your two questions in addition to what my co-factors Femi has said. Right. So the first question, even me, I make this joke when I'm working sometimes and I think like I'm like, how can I become a global citizen like this, right? Because that's where some of us are now beginning to aspire. Who are now global citizens, right? So there's a lot of limiting factors from where we come. We cannot shy away from admitting that fact. Like exposure to things. And I realized something that it's truly impossible for us to think outside of the boundaries of our environment. Now, if I ask any of us there to think of something that they've never seen before, we almost cannot. Because you have never seen it. But you can think of something that builds on top of another. For some reason, that's the way God created it. Now, let me give an example. If you bring phone to Nigeria or a bottle of water, Nigerians are very good at looking at this and creating things better than this. Because we are not in an environment that innovates, but those white people, like to answer your question, white coming from there, they think of water first, then they now thought about somebody look at that and say, oh, what can I do better than this? The development keeps increasing far ahead of us. Compared to we who were waiting to see this water first, in our environment, for someone smart to now think about how can I make this much better. So we are limited by our environment, and that goes back to like a whole lot of things must shift before we can start creating things, because you can't truly think of something outside of what you've seen before. Except maybe I know there's a concept of biblical concept where God just you pick something from a shelf of heaven, like you slept and God just. But apart from that, you cannot be thinking. You can think about aeroplane being faster because you've seen aeroplane before. But imagine that aeroplane didn't exist. To think of something like you might never be able to come up with that. All inventions have not been done. But if I think of one now, whether spend the next 10 years, it will come because what? Our thinking capability is bounded by our environment, whether we like it or not. And to answer the question, sorry, that was the first one. The first one, rather, where anytime there's an invention, it does not take care of the people that it's replacing. I think that's where you're coming from, right? Our old parents and all of that. Unfortunately, the people who are creating invention are also coming from a place of lack. They are trying to find a way to break into wealth. They are trying to find a way to make a name for themselves. So, in fact, the idea of invention and the root cause of it is that how can I make sure that I replace something? Because for you to get money, you must take it from other people. That's the honest truth. You think of something that everybody's riding bike, you can't think about it and say, how can I make sure that I take people riding bike and put it and own that system, that platform? That's the way invention works. So if they don't find a way to now build on top of that, and this is going to affect me, then they are left behind. But ideation, innovation always replaces what is on the scene to solve. And if you're into that system and you don't find a way to jump on a new innovation, unfortunately for our both aging parents sometimes it's difficult for them to jump. And that's just the sad part of it.
Thank you. Next question. I think for the sake of our time, just pick the last person. If you have any other question, we crave the talking about, you can see them in person, they will attend to your question. So we just have one more question.
My question is to Mr. Raymond Chen. For someone who knows about machine learning algorithms, let's say for someone who can use like a logistic regression algorithm to create like fraud detection, for example. Now, let's say you can build a logistic regression. Let's just say you're into data science, right? And you're trying to scale up a bit. I'm going to use the example of fraud detection now. You use your model to predict fraud, right? Afterwards, let's say there should be like an AI automation system that can help you. Let's say you work in a bank now, block that transaction or like a fraudulent, something like that. Now you know how to use regression models, let's say on R, KM, Vika, Python, all those things. What are the things that you would advise that the person goes on to learn, right? In line of, AI, machine learning, and all of that. And two, for a career path in data science, which I think you also know about, what would you advise?
I really don't, because now you're coming directly to my field. Every time we talk about business. Sorry. Every time we talk about as a business, my entrepreneurial side. Okay. Thank you. It's better. It's better now. Yes. Thank you. So I was just excited that now you're coming directly to my field. This question is going to be quite esoteric. Like you have to be really, really deep into data science to understand. If you're starting out and you want to become a data scientist, a machine learning engineer, AI practitioner, right? I'll say start with the basics. Operationalizing models in enterprise world is quite complex because if you build a fraud detection model, most of the time the question is that where do you plug it? Because Emmanuel here will tell you that it puts after transaction flow, right? If you plug it before the transaction is consummated, it's delaying transactions. So most of the time, it's an afterthought. As soon as the transaction is consummated, because people are fascinated with speed, they want their transaction as soon as they click send is completed. So building models or additional layers that checkmate some of those things, whether the transaction is fraudulent or not, and all that. The core people don't want that to be in the system. However, if you can build it to block at the end of the transaction, as soon as the transaction is maybe they are holding the money, whatever, and then you check if this transaction is fraudulent or not, right? And then it's easy to reverse it or something like that. That's at the operationalization. When you get to that point, you understand that, oh wow, it's more complex than I was thinking about building the model itself. But I wanted to quickly touch base on that. But in terms of laying to get to that point, I'm already happy that you know quite some of this model regression, SVM, and classification, and all of that, right? start from the basics. Most of the time, I understand that I've led a couple of team members, right? I've trained a lot of people through my work experience, and people that start with the basics of understanding Excel in and out, right, are way better data scientists than those that just come and start learning Python, right? Because I always say that we'll finish learning Excel when we all get to learn. Because trust me, you don't know what Excel can do. But knowing in depth what Excel can do allows you to understand how those models are explicitly going to apply on the data set and what the value proposition for the enterprise business is going to be. So start from there and master it, and spend some time, even if it's like a month, 2 months learning Excel. Then move on to learning Python, because learning Python as a programming language is different from learning Python for data analysis, different from learning Python for machine learning development, it's different from learning AI, because now you're leveraging Python to start calling LLM APIs to start building what you want to do, right? I know I'm going a bit there, and this is quite complete before. I'm going to be around, and if you want to go much in depth into this, but what I'll just say in summary is that start by learning Excel, start by learning visualization to understand data analysis, what if analysis, and all of that. Then go into start learning those models, because learning data science involves you learning all the different models, logistic models. How does vector machines work? Support vector machines work? What is the underlying mathematical principle, right? And all of that, then it can help you become a much more better.
Thank you so much, Mr. Raymond. Yeah. So you can see that these people, there's something they are doing. It's not that they just went to read it somewhere and they came to point to us something they're going to do in the industry. So thank you so much, Mr. Raymond, and thank you, Mr. Raymond. Now we're having you around. Thank you.
We can do much better. They've been looking for how many hours now? That's what I believe we have learned so much in this limited time. And thank you very much for that gracious opportunity. That if you happen to want to discuss one-on-one, you can quickly see them. So I know we've been sitting down for some hours now. We'll be having a very, very short tea break. So there's provision for tea. If you need hot water in this weather, and nobody of us don't want to use your cold water to take your tea. Within 10 minutes, just interact, talk with people. If you want to see about, you can also see them, engage with them, engage with people around. And but we are having just 10 minutes. We are coming back by 1:45. So please, you can just come over to this side for your tea break, then engage, have some interaction with people, and we are converging again by 1:45. Thank you very much, everyone, for your attention. We meet again in the next 10 minutes. just chilling. You can collect it and come back to your seat. You can be eating while the session is ongoing. Just go there, collect and be seated. Can we session now? We are starting the next session now, please. Can we session now, please? And if in case you've not gotten your own receipt and the slight questions that we have, you can just get it, come back to your seat and enjoy it while the session continues. Praise the living Jesus. Praise the living Jesus. The biscuit and the tea is not making our mouth to move away. Okay. So please, because of our time, we need to start the second session now. And in this segment, we are looking at wealth and compliance. So we are looking at how can you, the last year, Youth Week, we were reading a book, The Richest Man in Babylon. And that book gave me some perspective on investment and how to increase your yield. So by God's mercy this afternoon, we have I don't know how to describe him, but we have an important personality in our midst. And if at all you've not been paying maximum attention, which I know we have been doing anyway, this is another opportunity for us to pay maximum attention to the session that we'll be looking at. We'll be looking at investment and we'll be looking at tax. So after you have made your investment and you made money, we want to look at how can you remain tax compliant. You know, as believers, it's also important that what we are tax compliant. So as you make the money, as your pocket gets filled up, you also need to be responsible to the government. Amen. So please can we put our hands together and I invite forward here Mr. Olaolu Boboye. Can we please put our hands together even as we come forward, Mr. Olaolu Boboye? And then secondly, I need to just step out now. Let's together as I invite Barrister Tochukwu Mwako. Please come forward. Can we put our hands together for you? So please, can we put our hands together? I know we are eating, but can we put our hands together? Okay, so firstly, we'll be having the session on investment strategy. Media, are we ready? So may I humbly request that Mr. Olaolu please stand forward while your citation is being read?
Boboye Olaolu, lead economist and fixed income strategist at Cardinal Stone Partners. Boboye Olaolu is a sub-Saharan African economist and fixed income strategist with over 7 years of experience analyzing macroeconomic developments across African markets. He advises institutional clients on sovereign credit, local debt markets, and regional investment opportunities. Beyond his professional work, Boboye is deeply passionate about human capital development. He actively mentors undergraduates and recent graduates as part of his personal commitment to capacity building. He also serves on the board of the BOEN Foundation, an organization focused on reducing educational inequality by providing scholarships to children across Nigeria. Boboye is a chartered accountant, currently pursuing an MBA at Lagos Business School, and is a CFA Level 2 candidate. A lover of God and a devoted family man, he brings both professional excellence and personal conviction to everything he does. Please join us in welcoming Boboye Olaolu.
We'll put our hands together and welcome Mr. Olaolu Boboye. You are welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. First, I want to say a big thank you to Foursquare for inviting me. It's an honor to be here. And I want to thank all the leadership, our daddy, our mommy, for what the Lord is doing with them. And also, I want to thank the youth leadership for the opportunity. And for my co-speaker that have spoken, thank you so much for the opportunity, right? So very quickly, I'll be speaking for about 25 minutes, and I'll be guiding us on how you can make investment journey. And typically, when people want to make investments or financial decisions, they mostly leave it to the older people, people who are in their 30s and above, or sometimes people who are 40. They typically just leave it to them. And we have different excuses that people have made. We have different excuses that people have made that has informed their perspective about investment. So people will tell you that I don't have much money. Some people will tell you that I don't understand the investment markets. But then all these things, sorry for the distraction, but then all these things are not enough or are not sufficient in guiding our thoughts. Okay, so sorry for the distraction. Now, like I said, I'm here to guide us on our investment decision, on how we can create wealth for ourselves as Christians. I'll tell us two stories very quickly. How many of us have had, we were in the era of MMM, yeah, a few number of people. And there were other things that look like MMM that happened, where they will tell you that when you put this money, you can double your money within 2 days. How many of you have heard of that thing before? Right? And people felt beaten. People got burnt. People lost their money. And people got destroyed. There were also some advent of people that came up to say that you can speed up your investment. Within the space of a year, you can make a ridiculous amount. I'm not here to sell that kind of products to you. And I'm not here to talk to you about that kind of products. I'm here to tell you in a legitimate way you can grow your investments and to tackle the concerns that we have. And I can see that we have a lot of young people here. That makes the journey interesting. Because the things that our parents don't have, we have the opportunity for that. The first thing I will tell us is this. And if you go back 10 years ago, 10 years ago is 2016. If you have $1 million, as of 2016, if you invest $1 million in 2016, $10 million in 2016, by now, if you are invested in the equities market, you will have gotten $60 million. If you are saying that, oh, I want to put my money, I want to convert it to dollars. If you had invested $3,000, by now you would have made $50,000. And these are the ways people typically review wealth. And I also think every time we want to talk about wealth, let's think about long term. Imagine where you will be 10 years from now. Imagine where you will be 20 years from now. So if you start your investment journey today, you can get to a place that is bigger than you. And there are multiple reasons why people want to invest. Why do you want to invest? Some people will tell you that the reason why they want to invest is because they want to grow their wealth. Some people will tell you the reason why they're investing is because they want to make an extra income. Some people will tell you the reason why they're investing is because of educational purpose. Some people will tell you that the reason why they're investing is because of retirement purpose. These four things are the things I want us to address today. How do you grow your wealth to be able to achieve a generational wealth? You know, I told you I have two stories for us. Let me tell us the story of another person called Otedola. Years ago, Otedola used to be the owner of a company called Transport. How many of us have heard of Transport before? Okay, few of us. Well, how many of us know Otedola? Son of the richest man in the game. Yes. He used to be the owner of Transport some years ago. Then he had an investment problem, or he had a financial problem that literally wrecked him because he was doing also oil and gas. And he had a problem
oil prices crashed, it affected its investment. Now he had to sell most of its investments. That was when transport was sold and it was bought by Tony. Now, if you monitor him over the last few years, you see that after he regained back his wealth, he went into the oil and gas. He bought Anuva PS. Anuva used to be a publicly listed company. He left Anuva. He went to Gerebu. Gerebu is a power company. He left Gerebu. He went into bank. Currently, he's the largest shareholder of First Bank and is controlling First Bank. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this story is because many times when we see rich people, we assume that they have the real money, not enough resources, not enough resources. Many of them, they grow by leverage, they grow by borrowing. Now, I'm not here to tell you grow by borrowing, but I'm here to tell you different ways you can invest. And the first way you can invest is through the Nigerian equities market. It's through the Nigerian equities market. I use Nigerian equities market because we are in Nigeria. If you find yourself abroad, you can invest in the stock exchange that is out there. Now, for people that don't understand what the equity market means, it simply means that when you have a company, let's say ABC Limited, it's a private company, it's owned by Mr. ABC and Sons. After a while, Mr. ABC said, okay, I want to make that company a public company where everybody can put their money and they can buy. They put it on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Once a company gets to the Nigerian Stock Exchange, everybody can buy it. You can buy the shares of that company. A few people that used to be in the markets as of 2008, when they were growing up, they will tell you that the equity market used to grow. But then something happened in 2008. People lost their money. And when I was growing up, when you talk to my parents, come and invest in the equities market, what they will tell you that the market is not good again. That was their statement. That the market is not good again. When you engage people there, they will tell you that there is nothing in this market that is good. However, they got funds, they lost their money, and they informed the view of people that are going on, telling them that the market is not good again. But between 2008, when the market crashed, and now the market has made over 8 trillion naira. The market has made over 80 trillion naira. 80 trillion naira is bigger than some countries. And people still hold their mentality that the market is not good. They will tell you that the market is bad, so don't put your money in. Now, where or how do you invest in the equities market that you are protected? The first thing, I have a few slides I don't want to go into. The first thing I will let us know is this. A lot of people are not in the equities market. You don't work in the equities market. You may not understand that market. If you watch channels or you watch Arise, you see some things will be moving at the bottom of the screen. They put Access Bank, GTB, Zenith Bank, Dansen, Dangote Cement, and you're wondering what is going on here. They are moving. Now, you don't know what is happening. So if you put your money in the markets, you are likely to be able. What happened in 2008 was before 2008, the market was moving like the market. If you put 100 naira today, before 1 week, you can get 120. You can get 120. So people thought, even people that don't understand the market, the analogy as again was buy anything, you will make money. That was true. Just buy anything in the market and you make money. So when there was problem, people lost money. But what we tell people now is that the market is not a secret, because there are two types of investments that you can have in the market. Broad investment. There are investments that are safe. There are investments that are not safe. When I mean that are not safe, they are investments they have risks in it, right? But there are other ones that are safe without risks. The risk is near zero. And then there are investments that has risks. The risk is not near zero. The risk can be 20%, can be 30%, depending on you. So for the risks, for the investment that has risks, it's called the equities market. For the investments that have zero risks or near zero risks, they are called fixed income markets. Please, I don't know whether I'm following you. They are called fixed income because if you put 100 naira today, you know the amount you make at the end of the investment period. But for the equities market, you don't know the amount you make. You can make 10%, you can make 20%, you can make 30%. Example of a fixed income instrument, if you buy government treasury bills, if you buy government bonds, they are fixed. You know how much you will make. So if I put 1 million naira today in a government treasury bills, and that treasury bills is giving me 20%. 20% of 1 million naira is how much? 200,000. So which means by the end of, let's say I'm investing for 1 year, by the end of 1 year, I have 200,000 naira gain. But then, if you put money in the equities market, put a million naira in the equities market, you don't know how much you make. So how then do you play the equities market? Let me show up the first slide that I have here. If in the equities market in 2016, it lost, so people that put money in the market actually lost money. In 2017, the market gained. In 2020, 2018, 2019, the market lost. But from 2020 down to 2026, the market has been gaining and the market has been making money. So the first thing that you should have at the back of your mind is how much risks can I take as an investor? And it depends on many things. Now, one thing that we should be careful of is what we have been built by growing up. Something that my parents will always say, and it's even in the Bible, but we don't follow it in the investment field, is I will tell you not to borrow. It's not in the Bible. Not in the Bible. It's in the Bible. Bible will tell you not to borrow. Our parents grew up telling us that don't borrow. But as a person, I tell you borrow. But I don't want to go into that. Or borrow. Now, if you borrow to eat, you put yourself in problem. If you borrow to buy car, you put yourself in problem. Don't tell people to borrow to build house. It's not necessary. Right? We don't want to go into the aspect of whether building house or not building house. People build house for status and they've tied down millions. Imagine you having 200 million, you bought a house. 200 million at hand. May, not always, may be better than 200 million building. But let's not go into that. So, I tell people to borrow, but I'm not here to preach borrowing. I'm here to tell us how you can invest. So when I tell people that if you're risks, if you have the ability to take risks, what has informed our risks might be our parents. They tell you that don't take risks. So people have poverty mentality. It's not our fault. We try to escape poverty as much as possible. You grew up struggling, and so when you start working, start making little money for yourself, what comes to your mind is I want to conserve my money as much as possible. Your risk appetite must not be shaped by the way you've been brought up that may not be correct, or the things you've read that may not be correct. It must be shaped by information and understanding. So, when you know your ability to take risks, if you are young, if you are 30, if you are 20, in fact, you should have a very risk appetite. You should have a very risk appetite. Your risk appetite should be very big because you are young, there is still time on your side. However, if you are old, if you are 60 or above, your risk should drop. In fact, you should not be taking risks. So, for young people that are here, the first thing I want to encourage you is don't be afraid of taking risks. Don't be risk averse. Take risks. Now, the equity market is available to take risks. If I ask you, what should you buy in the equities market? You don't know what to buy because you are not in the market. Or you might say, everywhere I go, I see GTB. Then you go and buy GTB. You put money in GTB and lose money. So when you don't know what to buy or you don't understand the market, it's good to buy a mutual fund. A mutual fund is managed by professionals. For example, in Cardinal School where I work, we have a mutual fund. That mutual fund invests in the equities market. And it is managed by professionals. That is what they do for a living. So when you don't know what to buy an equity mutual fund. It invests in the fixed income market. So it invests in the equities market. Through that, you can make money for yourself and you can grow it. Let me show us an example. This scenario that we have here, I'm trying to build a 20-year scenario for us. If today you invest 10,000 naira, let's say you say, oh, I don't have much money, but I have 10,000 naira. If you put 10,000 naira into, let's say, the equity market, for example, or into an equity mutual fund, or any investment, and that investment is giving you 15% return every year, and you keep your money for 20 years, and every year you are contributing an extra 10,000 naira. By the end of 20 years, you would have made 1.1 million. Now, you might be saying that that money is small. If you had saved that money in the bank, you would have made 400,000. If you decide to make that money bigger, you invest $1 million. So you have $1 million that you are not using today, and you invest it at 15% for 20 years. By the end of 20 years, you would have made 26 million. If you take a bit of risks, this is 15%. Is more or less like a risk rate. If you take a bit of risks and we increase it to 20%, your 1 million can make it 57 million by the end of 20 years. If you had invested in the bank and keeping your money in the bank, you would have made 22 million. The difference there is over 35 million that you have made extra. So I encourage people to take risks. And I'll give us an example that we can relate with. For some of us here, maybe I should even throw it to older people here. How many of when you were going to the university, your parents had to depend on cooperative, they have to sell maybe part of their asset at home to send it to the university? How many people here? Some people were lucky. Okay, daddy. My dad was old. So literally it was cooperative and everything. Do you know that you can have an education plan for your children? You can have an education plan for your children using this simple scenario. So let's say you got married today and you expect your child to be going to the university when they're 17 years old. If you start saving every day and investing, when they get to the university, you will not pay 5 naira from your money. It's the investment that will pay now. Let me give us an example that we can relate with. Running the church or running the church costs. Every time the church will buy food, and will do a few other things in the church. Let's assume that the church keeps aside a sum of 1 million naira or 10 million naira today, and they invest at the rate of 20%. That means that every year the church will be making 2 million naira. If you divide that 2 million naira by 12, that means that every month the total return that the church will be making will be around 160,000. That money can be used to run the church. I'm not saying it's enough, it's just a best example. That money can be used to run the church. And the initial money that was put in the investment is still there. So I encourage people to invest money now. Now, we are young. We can say that we don't have much money. But if you look at all the money that your parents have been giving you and the money you are making on the side, you can find out that you might have 10,000 naira somewhere that you're not using. If you keep that 10,000 naira and you say that, oh, I just want to keep this 10,000 naira, every year, this is not once, every year I want to be adding extra 10,000 naira to it. You are currently 15 years old or 20 years old. When you are 40, you can imagine how much you have made for yourself. So I encourage people to put money in the equities market when you are young. When you are old and you are planning for retirement, people when they get retired, some people die because their source of income just stopped automatically. They don't know what to do with the money. I see some people when they retire, after working with the government for so many years, they take their gratuity and use it to buy a house. You say, okay, now let me leave Lagos. Lagos is expensive. let me go to Ibadan and buy a house in Ibadan and then settle them. But apparently, what you need when you are approaching retirement is making a sort of income that is consistent. That is consistent. So if you retire and they gave you, the government gives you 5 million naira at retirement. Now, don't forget what I said. When you are retiring, you must make sure that you are putting your money in a safe asset, in a safe instrument. So when you retire, you put that money in a fixed income instrument. If you put that money in a fixed income instrument, for example, please, are you with me? If you put that money in a fixed income instrument, for example, and that fixed income instrument is giving you, let's say 10%. 10% of your 5 million is 500,000, which means that if you put your money in a fixed income instrument and it's giving you 500,000 every year, or 250,000 naira every 6 months, it can keep you surviving till you retire and you leave this set. So at the end of the day, it's managing your investment properly, your markets. So once again, where should you put your money? When you are young, you can put your money in the equities market. Now, it doesn't mean that the equities market does not come with risks. It doesn't mean that the equities market is risk-free. So when you put your money there, you relax and you say, oh, my money is just going to be growing. No, don't forget there are periods that the market can decline. There are periods where you may lose your money. But having a long-term goal in mind can help you to make money. Now, I'm about to round up. There are many people on social media today. You must have seen them. They will just tell you that, come and put your money here. Come and put your money in the equities market. If you don't understand the market, don't jump at putting your money in the equities market. Invest in mutual funds. And that is why I did a list of different investments you can do. If you want your investment to be in dollars, because Naira can be unpredictable. Naira is stable today, anything can happen tomorrow. If you want to put your money in a fixed income instrument that's dollars in nature, it is available. Now you might be saying that this $5,000 is good. There are smaller ones, right? There are smaller ones that you can do. Number two, if what you want is a fixed income instrument, I don't want anything to happen to my money. I want to see my money every month when I wake up. There are fixed income instruments you can buy. You can buy treasury bills, you can buy government bonds. With as low as 5 million naira, you can invest in it. But again, if you don't have up to 5 million naira, there is fixed income mutual funds in different firms. It's available in our own firm. With as low as 10,000 naira, you can put your money there and you cannot lose your money. Even if our company ceases to exist, nothing will happen to your money. So our money is not, your money is not dependent on the survival of our company. There are companies that have died, but the money they are managing is still available to date, right? If you want to put your money in the equities markets, like I advise, buy a mutual fund with as low as 10,000 naira you can invest. So everybody here, or most people here, you can afford 10,000 naira. Don't keep that 10,000 naira in the bank. Never forget this analogy that I painted. Don't keep that money in the bank. Your money is wasting. You are losing your money by keeping it in the bank. You can buy the equities market by buying a mutual fund easily. And if you want to trade on your own, that's fine. There are apps that you can use. You can use bank, you can use different apps. But don't forget, if you are retiring, you are buying a fixed income instrument. You can decide to buy instrument of piggy vests, rice vests, and other type of investment platforms. If you are young, you are advised to invest in the equities market because there are limited opportunities or limited opportunities in that area. Lastly, don't forget, if you had invested 10 million naira 10 years ago, you would have made 60 million naira if you had invested in the equities market. If you convert this amount to dollars, you would have made $50,000. If you had invested your money in fixed income instruments, that's 10%. 10 million naira will have become 20 million naira in 10 years. 10 million naira
At 12%, it will become 30 million naira. At 14%, it will become 30.7 million. It all depends on the level of risk that you want to take. Any level of risk that you want to take, there is abundant investment funds that is available for you. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you very, very much. Once again, I would like together for I know we have a lot of questions on investment already, so please just pen down your question when it's time for. We have the general Q&A with the tax section, so please just pen down your question so that you not forget. Just pen it down, then we'll revisit it. But quickly, we want to present this award to our earlier facilitators. We should have done that immediately after the presentation, but this one. So now, before we go into the tax section, we'd like to invite the chairman of the planning committee, Roy Emmanuel, for the presentation of our welcome. So I would like to get everyone to come forward. We can do better. Are we tired? But did you enjoy their session? I thought that even after their session, people they will still went to them for some personal counseling. So please, let's appreciate them. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Let's give a round of applause. And so, let's give a round of applause to him. It's not easy. The Lord has been using them to bless us, right? It means that no matter the funds you have, there's an investment for you. So please don't be ignorant. That's why we are here. So I'm just going to do something small to present our award to our previous facilitator. So I'll also be calling Daddy. Daddy will be doing that, presenting our award to them. Reverend Sir, Reverend John Momeji, please let's give him a round of applause. Photographer is around. So I'll be calling the facilitators. I would like to welcome Mr. Raymond Chen.
You're welcome, sir. This award is being presented to you in recognition of your outstanding contribution as a speaker at the next Gen Confrence. The team scaling through tech, wealth, and wealth compliance. Thank you for sharing your brilliance and enriching the experience. Thank you, God bless.
So the next award will be presented by our pastor too, our brother, our daddy, and our uncle. No other person than our pastor Lou, please sir. We're presenting this award to our second facilitator. No other person than Mr. Olufemi Ogunsoya.
There. Mr. Femi, Mr. Olufemi.
I was talking the other time.
Digital marketing expert. You know a lot of value to the event today. You have enjoyed it. Please put your hands together. On behalf of the organizers today, in recognition of the contribution of impacted our lives here today. This is presented in appreciation of what you have put in place. God bless you.
Once again, I would like to together for our participants. Thank you very much for adding value to the Gen Confrence. So right now, we are going to be moving to the last session and the last speaker that we have for today, and he will be speaking to us on tax compliance. Look, with effect from 1st January this year, a lot of things have changed in the tax landscape, and people have been asking questions. Personally, I know people that have approached me from the church that this thing. So this afternoon, we are privileged to have in our midst one of the finest and most brilliant tax lawyers in Nigeria. And with great privilege, I would like to humbly request them. In my poll, how I would like to put it now, we work in the same firm, and I can attest to his brilliance when it comes to this tax matter. So I believe media team we have the people already. May I only request that by start to take more work, you can give your opinion as we have your question.
Udoma and Bello Osagi. Tochukwu Nwankwo is an associate in the tax, banking and finance, and fintech practice groups at Udo Udoma and Bello Osagi, Nigeria's leading full-service commercial law firm. At the firm, he provides strategic legal support across a broad spectrum of complex matters, including domestic and international tax structuring, cross-border and local financing transactions, and fintech advisory. Prior to joining the firm, Tochukwu built a strong foundation in commercial legal practice at Babalakin & Company, where he assisted both local and international clients in high-stakes commercial litigation. He later joined the international tax and transfer pricing team at Mazars, a global audit and tax advisory firm. There, he advised multinational corporations across the energy, manufacturing, financial services, and technology sectors on transfer pricing compliance and complex cross-border tax matters. Tochukwu holds a Bachelor of Laws degree from the University of Nigeria and is duly admitted to practice law in Nigeria. Please join us in welcoming Barrister Tochukwu Nwankwo.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Tochukwu Nwankwo. I mean, this is the first time in a long time that they call me barrister. I don't go to court, so yeah. So I know that when a lot of us don't like hearing about tax, yeah, because we think the government wants to collect our money. But I understand. But the truth is tax is here to stay, so it's the benefits of complying outweigh the issue that you want to face if you don't comply. So I think the information is very important for me to have, actually. So today, I will be discussing Nigeria's tax reforms and what business needs to know. Sorry, can you help me? I will discuss Nigeria's tax reforms and what businesses need to know. And as someone said, we know that from 1st January 2026, we heard that Nigeria has new tax laws, right? And there were a lot of misinformation going around, a lot of questions were being asked. And interestingly, I was very surprised actually, because I think that there are a lot of issues of misinformation, because the questions that people were asking are things that have existed before. So because of the, let's say, social media, propaganda and everything, so people are very confused. But these things that we hear, I think they are really existent, so that we don't know about it before. So I'll just go straight to the presentation. I've got the introduction. So we have new tax laws. There's going to be listing them, not for you. It took effect 1st January 2026. And we know that the Federal Inland Revenue Service is now the Nigerian Revenue Service. So it's no longer the FRS, it's now the NRS. And yeah, majorly, I'll compare I'll compare the old rules and the new rules. So, under the new rules that ended 31st December 2025, we had companies income tax. I mean, we still do have companies income tax, but the rates are different. So previously, companies income tax was charged at 0, 20%, and 30%, right? So now, companies income tax is charged at 0 and 30%. We used to have a lot of companies used to pay a lot of other taxes and levies, such as tertiary education tax, police trust fund levy, instant levy, and ascending levy, and all of that. But now they've all been consolidated into one single levy called development levy, charged at 4% of a company's accessible profits, except small companies and non-resident companies. Yeah. So we know that we pay VAT at 7.5%. I'm sure if you go to buy stuff and check your invoice, it's VAT at 7.5%. So it's still 7.5%. Another change is the change to the personal income tax rates. So previously, rates used to range from 7% to 24%. Now it ranges from 15 to 25%. And changes to capital gains tax and all of that. So let me just move on. I think what is going to be most relevant to us sitting down here is sort of like incentive and exemptions that people can enjoy. Most importantly, if you are doing business in Nigeria, it's important for you to know what kind of company you fall under, what kind of category of company you fall under the Nigerian tax framework. So are you a small company or are you a large company? Because if you're a small company, there are a couple of exemptions and benefits that you can enjoy. So I think it's important that you pay attention. Now, previously, as under the old tax regime, a small company or a small business was defined as a business that has an annual turnover threshold of 25 million naira. So if you do your business and you get revenue, you sell whatever you sell, you get revenue in a year, and that revenue is up to 25 million naira. You qualify as if it's up to 25 million naira, you are not a small company, but it's less than 25 million naira in a year, you're a small company. And the implication of that is that if you are a small company, you don't pay tax, right? So, but you have to file your tax returns. Yeah, so you calculate the total revenue that you got in a particular year, and you pay 0% tax on your taxable profit, right? But you have to still file returns. So filing returns just means you have to disclose your transactions for the particular year, disclose the profits that you made, and then tell the tax authority that, oh, because I didn't exceed the threshold, I am paying this 0% tax, right? Now, what you'd like to know, which I think is very beneficial to all of us, is that that threshold has now been increased. So, like I said previously, so it's 25 million, now it is 100 million, right? So if you don't exceed an annual turnover threshold of 100 million, you qualify as a small company and you pay 0% tax, but you still have to file return. So another thing that was added is that you qualify, so if you don't meet the 100 million, so there are two conditions now: 100 million threshold and a fixed asset of 250 million. So for instance, if you say your annual turnover is 95 million, you don't meet the 100 million threshold, but your fixed asset, you have a lot of assets, you have lands, you have buildings, and the value of that asset exceeds 250 million. You can't really say that you're a small company, so you still have to pay the tax here. Yeah. So VAT still 7.5%. And let me tell you how VAT works. So you go to buy something, and the business owner charges VAT of 7.5%. How does it work? So let's say I sell something. I sell a car, and you come to me to buy cars and sell the car for 100 million naira to you. I am supposed to include a VAT of 7.5% of that 100 million. So what you're going to be paying is 100 million plus
7.5% of 100 million, right? So what that means is I am taking 100 million as the business owner or the person selling the car to you, and I am collecting 7.5% and remitting it to the government. But again, small business owners that have, I mean, who can remember the threshold I mentioned? So small business owners, small companies, become over threshold of 100 million, total fixed asset more than 250 million. You don't have the obligation to charge it. So it's sort of like a benefit for small companies not to overburden them with tax compliance, right? So you don't have the obligation to charge VAT if you're a small business or a small company. So I mentioned that there is VAT on some certain items, but there are also items that are exempted from value added tax. So say for example, if I mentioned cars before. Let me use the example of baby products. So if I'm selling baby products or even lands and buildings, I don't have the obligation to include VAT in my invoice. So if you go anywhere to buy baby products and they are putting VAT inside the invoice, you're supposed to question them and say, that is not in accordance with the law, right? Because baby products are exempt from VAT. So if you enter a bus, for instance, so in the shared road transport service, you'll get, but if you enter Uber, you'll be VAT. Lands and buildings as well. So if you're going to buy land, you need to buy building. Very important because I think this question a lot come up in practice. People are going to buy property and so lands and buildings are actually exempt. It's on your rent. You're not supposed to pay on your rent. Yeah, so very importantly. And while some items are exempt, there are also items that are called zero rated. So zero rated means that there is VAT, but it is applied at a rate of 0%. Examples of items that are zero rated are basic food items, medical and pharmaceutical products, medical services and equipment, educational goods, and materials. So what I'm saying is that if you're going somewhere to buy food items, basic food items, like unprocessed food, for instance, at the market, or you're going to receive medical services, you're going to buy medicine at the pharmacy, they are not supposed to add VAT of 7.5%. You can see VAT, but it's supposed to be at 0%. So those items are zero rated. Now, as a business owner, I already mentioned that you're a small business owner, small company, you don't need to charge VAT. Right? But if you're not a small business owner, you have the obligation to charge and collect VAT. And when is VAT remitted? VAT is remitted 21st day of the following month. So for instance, let's say this is February. As a business owner, you've made your sales from the 1st of February up until the 28th of February, right? You're supposed to collect all your invoices, all the VAT amount that you charge on all your invoices, and calculate 7.5% of all the sales you made for the month, and ensure you file your returns for the Nigeria Revenue Service by latest 21st of when? Next month. Very good. I'm going to the part about envy and not VAT. Yeah, I mentioned small business, the exemptions. Now, income tax. As a company, I mentioned that small companies don't have to pay income tax, but I mean, they have to file, right? If you are not a small company, you have to pay. So what does income tax apply to? So there's income tax for companies and income tax for individuals and other unincorporated entities. So the one for companies is called companies income tax. The one for individuals and unincorporated entities is called personal income tax. So what do I mean by unincorporated entity? So first of all, an incorporated entity is a company with shareholders. So instead of a company, you incorporate, you have a limited at the end, incorporate with the CAC. It's called an incorporated entity. If you have a business name, Nkechi Ventures or something like that, it's not a limited company. That's called, it's an unincorporated entity, it's a business name. So I think this distinction is important for what I'm about to say. Now, if you incorporate a company, the company is deemed to have what lawyers call a legal personality. So under the law, your company is seen to have a distinct personality from you. So the liabilities of the company are not are separate from the owners of the company, right? So your company's tax liability is separate from your tax liability. Is that clear? Okay. So if your company does business and gets money, your company is supposed to pay company's income tax liability. And if you do business and get money, you are supposed to also pay separately personal income tax. Yeah. So for companies who are not small companies, the income tax rate is 30%. So for small companies, 0%. But two of them, whether a small company or any other type of company, is supposed to file returns. How are returns filed or when are they filed? And if you incorporate a new company, you're supposed to file your company's income tax returns by 6 months after your first financial year end or 18 months after incorporation, which of them is earlier. But if you're an old company, say you've been in operation for a while, you're supposed to file your company's income tax returns at least 6 months after your financial year. Yeah, so I think that covers it. There's something called withholding tax. So withholding tax is not a separate type of tax. It is an advanced payment of income tax. So what that means is, if I am transacting with somebody, let's say I'm supplying the person services or goods or whatever, and the person wants to pay me, the person is supposed to withhold tax and source. Withhold tax and source. So what that means in practical terms is, the person at the point of paying me is going to withhold or deduct a certain percentage of my money before paying me the balance. So it depends on the type of service that I am providing the person. So withholding tax applies to different types of services and different types of transactions. It applies to interest payments, it applies to rent, it applies to royalties, it applies to dividends, it applies to many other types of services. So for instance, if I borrow somebody money and if I lend money to somebody and I'm supposed to charge interest on that money, so the person is paying me the principal amount that was borrowed and interest, right? So the withholding tax is going to be 10% of the interest, right? So when the person is paying me interest, the person is supposed to deduct withholding tax at source before remitting the interest to me, before paying the interest. So what happens after deduction of withholding tax generally? Because like I said, it is not a tax, it is paid in advance. So I mean, get technical. But what I'm saying is, it is paid in advance. Simply means the 10% that is deducted at source is not a separate tax. So I can use that 10% that the person has paid to the tax authority to reduce my own tax liability. Is that clear? Is it clear? I mean, you ask questions eventually. So you have to mention these benefits for small business. Maybe I don't even have to take note. Another benefit for small business is that you generally don't have withholding tax liability, so withholding tax obligation, but there's a condition, right? Because I mentioned exemption for VAT, I mentioned exemption for income tax. So now withholding tax obligations, there's an exemption, sort of, but it's conditional. The condition is that, one, if somebody that is supplying you the service or the good has a TIN, a tax identification number, and the value of the transaction for a particular month is 2 million or less, then you don't have to deduct withholding tax. In every other circumstance, we have to deduct withholding tax. Yeah. I think that's about withholding tax. Then this is very important because, I mean, everybody is an individual. They're supposed to pay personal income tax. And I know that's like what's the most important to us. We want to know what kind of tax, how much we are paying. Yeah. So personal income tax, it applies to profits, income, or gains that accrue to a person, that's an individual, or an unincorporated entity. You know, I had distinguished between an incorporated entity and an unincorporated entity. So if you're doing business as an individual, whatever money you get, whether you get it in euros, naira, or dollars, whether you get it in Nigeria or you get it from the US, as long as you're staying in Nigeria, you are supposed to report all income, gains, profit that you've received as an individual, and then you calculate tax on the money you receive and remit it to the tax authority of the state where you are resident. Who can tell me if the tax authority in the state where we are? LRA, exactly. So if you are an employee, I mean, it's easier because the obligation generally is on the employer. So the employer will calculate and say, this person, you're paying 50 million. And they will determine based on the band, this band will determine, oh, person falls on this band. Okay, now, say 15 million. The way it works is they calculate the first 800K in your 50 million and apply what percentage? 0. The next 2.2 million, how much percentage? How much percent? 15. So they keep progressing till they get to 50 million and whatever amount that they've been able to deduct based on this scale will be applicable personal income tax. Right? Yeah. So for employers, they do that before you pay your salary. But I mean, if you're not an employee, you have to do this yourself. And even if you're an employee, because some people they work for their employer, but they also have their side gigs, right? So you're still obligated to also on your own report all your income to the tax authority. So, I mean, we ask questions as to what can we deduct before we file our personal income tax. You can deduct your pension for payment. Pension, you can deduct your pension, you can deduct payments made to National Housing Fund, you can deduct payments made to National Health Insurance Scheme. And recently, it was introduced, the rent relief allowance was introduced. So if you pay rent, you can deduct your rent, but you cannot deduct everything the next day. So you have a rent relief of 20% of your annual rent, subject to a maximum of 500,000. Right? So rent relief of 20% of your annual rent, subject to a maximum of 500,000, whichever is lower. So if your rent is 1 million in a year, what's 20% of 1 million? 200,000. Is it lower than 500K or not? So which one are you deducting? 200,000. Yeah. So once you calculate your annual income, you can deduct that 200,000 from your tax liability. You know, before from your acceptable income or whatever before you calculate tax. So yeah, I will share my slides with you, no problem. I don't have so much time. I've mentioned development levy. Now, if you have a startup, there's also benefits that can apply to you. Let's say you want to technological development, and all of that. But I mean, you must have gotten the middle startup status. But if you have a startup, there are benefits. So non-resident companies that invest, that provide technical consultancy, management, and professional services to you, they have benefits. So it's sort of like a way to encourage people to invest in the startup. There are also some other incentives, particularly if you have like an agricultural business, so if you're into crop production, livestock, aquaculture, forestry, and dairy products, you are exempted from tax for the first 5 years and commence business. This is just a way that the government is trying to encourage people to go into agriculture. Then if you are into crypto, you're in virtual asset service providers, you're into the exchange, trading, custody of issuance of virtual assets. There's an additional obligation in the new tax law that requires you to file your virtual assets service provider return before the you're supposed to register with the FRS. So previously, there was no requirement for you to register. with the tax authority. But now there's a requirement for you to register and file return. So what businesses need to do now, what is most important for you as a business owner is that you have to register your business with the tax authority, and you have to also file your return. And then you have to monitor your threshold. So I mean, you're doing business in Nigeria, you have to know, you have to first of all maintain accurate records. Bookkeeping is very important. Know how much you make every year. Know how much you make every year. So that will also help determine, oh, are you within the threshold of a small business, a small company, or you've exceeded the threshold? Because I mean, if you are within the threshold of a small business, it won't make sense for you to start calculating tax on your income. So it's very important that you know what threshold you fall under. And yeah, I mean, if you have a company, it's good also, if you have a company, whether it's a company or a business, it's good for you to seek tax advice, very importantly, engage professionals. And another important thing I would like to mention, based on what we're discussing so far, is that compliance is very important. If you're whether you own a tech startup or whatever, if you're looking to scale, I think compliance with tax laws are very important, because I mean, I work in the law firm, and most times major corporations come to us and say, okay, this entity or this company wants us to invest in them. You guys should do a due diligence on that company to know if they have any outstanding liabilities or not. I mean, one of the due diligences that we do is on tax. We ask the company that is seeking money to provide all their tax compliance documents, tax returns, and everything. So if we see that not in compliance, we flag it to your investor and tell the investor that, oh, this person is a problem. Or if you invest, they will come for you in the future. So I think it's important, if you want to scale as a business, it's important that you actually comply with taxes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's join together once again for. So right now we'll be going into the Q&A. Can we put our hands together once again for our facilitator? Hope we enjoyed the session. Hope we enjoyed it. So we have the first session on investment strategies, and then the second one on tax. So as you are making money on one hand, on the other hand, you are also a responsible citizen. So I believe we have a couple of questions. So because of our time, can you please signify so that we can give you the mic if you have questions? One, do you have question on either investment or tax? Either section 1, 2, 3. So 3, 4. So we have 4 questions. That's fine. Please, can we start with Pastor Lowe?
Thank you so much, Barrister. Barrister from accountant. Thank you. I just a little clarification. If you operate unincorporated business, meaning that your tax responsibility is not different from yours, so you are expected to file income tax at the end of the year, right? Now, if you have a number of staff and to register them with the tax authority, they turn in what they call payee every month. And at the end of the proprietor also file personal income tax based on the valuation. So having complied with all of these said, do you still have anything to fear? That's number one. And in the face of a lot of, just like this, started with misinformation out there, that's number one. The secondly, your tax authority from the payee to personal income tax resides in the tax authority in the state where you do business and where you reside. And now the question is, do you have anything to do with federal Federal Tax Authority according in compliance with the new tax law. So that's I want you to clarify that. Do you get the question?
I think the first one, if I get it right, so the first one is business name, you also have staff, you have paid their salary, and you have also filed your own personal income tax return. Do you still have any other tax obligation, anything that you need to render? Then the second one is you are responsible to LIRS for payee and PIC. Do you have any obligation towards the NRS, FRS, now NRS? Do you have any obligation whatsoever?
Thank you very much. So I'm going to ask the first question again to be sure. Do you mean you have any further obligation or you maybe have anything to fear?
Okay, so further obligation to federal revenue, which is
NRS,
Nigeria, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to first to answer the first question. If you have anything to be afraid of, if you comply with all the tax obligations,
Yeah.
I mean, I won't say you have anything to be afraid of, right? But I'm going to tell you, and the reason I'm not going to say that is if you have all your documents, so you've complied with, so the NRS or the whichever tax authority comes to you in the future and say, okay, we want to audit this company, provide your documents. You can provide the documents. But again, you can still provide those documents and you tell them that the basis of the assessment is wrong, that you don't agree with the amount of tax that you paid, that you should pay additional tax. So I'm not going to tell you that's not possible. That's very possible, right? But if as in business, you've done your pay or that, you still have an obligation to the federal tax authority because VAT is paid to the federal tax authority, it's not paid to the state tax authority.
Assuming perhaps what you do, VAT does not apply. Okay, to come clearer now, what do you have any responsibility as it has to do with this finding that is done every month? I'm trying to I will check for it and probably come back. There's a particular finding. The reason why I'm asking this question, I kept getting a mail from I kept getting that mail. Only God knows how long. I ask myself, what is the name I have? This one we know the name of so I will check.
Yeah.
Then for our investment.
Sorry, by date, but have you registered with the federal register?
Oh, yes.
So I think it's very important that you register because you might, in the future, if not now, have VAT obligations.
How do you mean register? Do you mean through your team? Sure. All right, very quickly to our investment man. Thank you so much for allaying our fears, concerns, stock buying, investment, and all that. Truly, many years back when a lot of people lost stock investment, it was, our mind had been more like against that investment opportunity. And I'm glad that through the graph that you have shown, it reveals that year in, year out, the market has been making money consistently, at least in the last 6 years thereabout. Now, I want to ask for how do you categorize some of the fixed deposits that banks do? Okay, so you bring so amount of money, you fix it for a particular, I think minimum 6 months, maybe there are 3 months or a year and all that, and you agree on the rate. And from the day they are collecting the money from you, you are paid the dividend of the investment upfront. Okay, somebody say interest. Yes, you collect the interest while your money is held for the period that is agreed, and thereafter, after the maturity, you can have access to your fund. Where does that kind of investment, where does it fall under the categorization that you give us?
So that kind of investment is a fixed income instrument. So fixed income instruments are wide, right? You have treasury bills, you have bonds, you have commercial papers, you have majorly those ones. Then you have money market instruments. Money market instruments, they behave like fixed income instruments. For example, the first part that you said you have money and you place it to the bank and you agree on the rate, it can be a money market instrument. It will depend on the level of the money you are bringing, the level of rate that's available in the market. And you notice that the rate will be changing on a daily basis, right? It will depend on the liquidity in the system. That one that they give you your return upfront, they call them discounted instruments. They are majorly treasury bills. If you buy treasury bill from a bank today, let's say you invest 100 million and the rate is 20%. That means that they are going to give you back 20 million naira on the first day of investment. You getting your return at the end of the investment when you get 100 million and invested plus 20, they keep it upfront. So the advantage of that is you have what we call time value of money. You've gotten your return from the start. If you don't have anything to do with that 20 million, you will invest it again. So you can even reinvest it again. So at the end of the day, you would have, at the end of 1 year, you would have made more than 20% return.
Thank you very much. Next question.
Thank you very much, sir. My question for goes to you, sir. So the thing is, I also try some stock, US stock, AAPL, which is an Apple. I bought some stock in US. That was a year. So though I came with good results anyway. But the thing is, when you came and you told us that we can also go into equity. So though this is my first time hearing that anyway. So and you talk about risk management. Though we didn't taught in school, but you go deeper than them that was even telling us the risk management. You understand? So the thing is, you are telling us equity is kind of there is a little risk in it. Then you said one is fixed. You will put our money inside it. That one is, there is no problem, treasury bill like that. So the thing is now that you said that one is more, you have higher interest on it. So though if as an investor, I want to go with that equity, fine. But since you said there's a little risk in it, then that is becoming another thing entirely. So how can we sort that aspect? Because I want to do that if I have the money to invest with you. So that's that. My second question goes to the law. So sir, the thing is, my company account 2 years ago, I received messages from FIRS, now NRS. So the thing is, they sent me a message that I have to pay 500,000 for what? I mean, I'm helping my clients based on proof of funds. They build their proof of funds. So am I the one to pay that or what? So please clarify the contact, please.
Okay, so I will start with the first one, which is on the risk that comes with investing in the equities market. First, you said you bought stocks. Stocks, shares, equities, they are the same. It's just different names or different investments, but they are practically the same thing. So, yes, equity comes with risks, and that risk can sometimes be unlimited. Because if you come to the time where the market is not doing well, for example, there was a company recently called Stanbic.
So they have an exchange traded fund. It's just like a mutual fund. Now that fund has been going up since almost 6 months. In fact, it has gained up to maybe 5,000% in the last 6 months. And the news came out in the limelight about 2 weeks ago that they are making a lot of money. Now, people did not understand that investment. They don't understand the way exchange fund works. We literally put money. And last week, that exchange traded fund lost half of the entire return. So if it's like put a million naira, you can be left with 500,000. Now, it can be so bad that you can go on empty-handed. So that's the reason why I typically advise people don't buy on your own if you understand the market. So people bought FCMB Bank around 2004 at 14 naira. That was the price. And the person that met me in 2019, I was like, oh, is that at that bought it and she wants to sell it. I was like, don't worry, just go back home. Because at that time, the stock was trading for 4. So I told the person, go back home. But now it's trading at 14 naira. So typically, when people buy, sometimes people think, let me just buy a key so that it will give me dividend. Doesn't always work that way. Not all stocks pay dividend. The stock that was paid dividend last year will not pay this because of different reasons. But if you buy a mutual fund, now mutual fund does not take away the risk. Mutual fund simply means that people that are knowledgeable are managing the fund. And there is also a risk management framework. If you have a fund, let's say my company is going up to you can have an external person that will have you have the risk management committee. That's what you will give you limits. You cannot do more than this. You cannot buy more than this. End goal of what they are doing is to ensure that if there is a shock in the market and the market uses money, you don't lose much. In fact, if you buy a mutual fund, you cannot use your entire money because part of that money is about 30% is put in fixed income instrument. So buy as a bad, you don't lose 10%. So it's better to buy a mutual fund because they are able to manage that process. It doesn't take away the but they are able to manage by a professional. Now, if you are in a period where the market is down, people speak in panic. Last year, towards the end of last year, the investment I made was 50 million. But people were panicking. If I drop my money when the money was losing, I would have gone home with a loss. Now, you need to know when to also be patient. If you buy a 10, they are just going to make a normal return, not special.
Thank you very much. I believe that addresses the question. To the first question.
Yeah, please. I need you to speak in context. More context. Yes.
It does.
So you collect money from people.
Like, do is that I help them to run their clients. So me personally, because I believe if they go to bank to, they will give them percentage of the business. might be 3.5 for proof of funds, you understand? Or they may say, okay, it's 4.4%. So what I do is that I help my clients, you understand, to use their money that they have to run my own personal, since me, I already registered my company, you understand? So I can, be doing kind of a employee, this thing, I will be sending them salary. For 6 months, I will do that. So I'll run the accounts for them. So now I'm the one facing this thing. So how would I solve that?
Okay, please start. You pay them money to keep it in their account. Then they use the money as proof of fund. Wow. Interesting. Okay, so do they give you money? Do they pay for that?
They already paid me for my own work. Yes. You understand? For them to jump. Do you get? So the thing is, we always find it difficult, when it comes to proof of funds. People come like they say they don't have proof of funds and they don't jump. And you, maybe for like 1 month, you are not seeing client. You see only just one client. And this is a way of, for you to earn money. You have to, try your opposite first to be. So there's a way we go about it. So me now, I'm doing it for them because of, to make it work. My own work to work. You understand? So now I'm putting it in my own account, running the accounts. Do you understand? So now they not sent me message last 2 years that I have to pay 500 something thousand. Jesus. So since then I won't be using that account anyway.
Okay. So you are charging for that service, right?
I'm not really charging.
You're not really charging for that part. Okay. So I don't think that is income, because I don't think that's income. So what I mean is, it's not money that you got from like in business that you're doing. So it's money. So I'm going to explain. Income is like something, the benefits, the financial benefits that you get from doing a business. So if I do a service and somebody pays me money, that's income. If you know how I was explaining loan and interest, if I borrow somebody money, which is typical to your situation, if I say take this money and do business, right? And the person pays me back, that when the person pays me back, it makes me go back to the situation that I was before I gave the person this money. So it's not like I have additional money. So that money that the person is paying me back is not income. What could be income is if you charge interest in borrowing that money to the person, right? So it is that interest that will be subject to tax. So in your own situation, money is just moving.
Money is moving.
Yes.
Don't forget that. I'm like employer.
Yes.
And then they are the employee.
Okay.
Because of the use of of that account as an employee of that organization, you understand? So I have to be paying them salary, then running some other things, maybe daily something. So then they're also putting money inside the account, you understand?
Yeah.
But the thing is, as an employee, you made mention of on the tax, and you made mention of
you file your returns, your tax returns, normally.
I don't file. I don't file anything. I don't file.
If after the session, you can align after and align. Next question, please.
Praise the Lord. Yeah, so my question is directed to Mr. Olaolu. So thank you for the insights you gave us on APC and fixed income. So permit me to debate from the asset level. So my question is, what is your take in investing in real estate? Is there a possibility for housing bubble costs? Because I noticed that if you look at the way Nigeria is now, the prices of houses are going up. I don't know if that's kind of scenario that happens in countries like Japan and US. And what it means for people that are looking into that area of investment.
Okay, thank you. So we just take the last question and we answer the two together. The last question.
Praise the Lord. My question goes to my dear barrister. So in case I'm into food and sales of vegetables, oil and everything, and I've registered my company under TAC. And after that, tax rumors, then later they gave me the VAT certificate. But suddenly, just like you said now, I'm exempted. And suddenly, the FRS, which is the NRS now, sending mails for VAT. Come and file the VAT. Now, why are they sending mail when they know themselves that this one is not supposed to do so? Thank you, sir.
If what you're selling is exempt from tax, what you can do, to be honest, is just to probably file new return on the tax bonus and so like your product is really file, right? Yeah, even though it's zero, so you're not paying anything just to apply. But if it's anyone, they will still send the real thing. They send the real thing. You don't see anyone.
Okay, so I find the question very interesting. Possibility of the household. It's possible, right? Possible. But different factors influences household. Prices are currently extremely high. The key question is a function of demand and supply, right? That will influence housing prices. One of the things that real estate agents have been able to leverage on or property owners is a function of robust demand. Now that demand is not necessarily coming from everybody, it's coming from a niche part of the market. You also know that the real estate market is a bit porous, so it's easy for money laundering. So you have dollars in, dollars out, week in, week out in that sector. That creates an imaginary demand that's not necessarily broad-based. So typically what that would do is that it's able to keep the market afloat for a period of time, right? Until it gets to the point where those dollars are not flowing again, maybe because of increased watchdog by the government. Now, if you want to bet against that happening and perhaps making money off that, you also have to have a lot of money and a lot of patient capital. For example, if people have bet some years ago that there will be a crash in the US market, they ended up making money, but some of them almost went out of business because they bet a very significant amount of money. So if you are placing a significant amount of money and there will be a crash, depends on how much or how long you are keeping that money for that crash to happen. Now, if you now look at alternative cost of capital, say you put 10 million naira, for example, hoping that there will be a crash in the market, and you make two times the money or 3 times the money, that's 30 million. What if you have invested that money somewhere else? That's alternative cost of capital. You might have made that money while you're still waiting for it. So, playing that kind of game requires a lot of skill, a lot of information, and a lot of understanding of that space before you can be able to get there will be a crash in the market for you to make money with it.
Thank you very much. I can we put our hands together once again for our facilitators. I believe we have learned one or two things on tax and investment strategy. Right now, I will invite. Okay, please you can go to your seat. I will move forward the chairman of the planning policy, Roy Emmanuel.
All right. Let's give them a round of applause. I'm sure we've learned quite a number of things in the course of this session, the investment and the tax, well, how we can be tax compliant and how we can invest our money while investing still be tax compliant. Because my brother said was making money was entering, but it wasn't filing. And our government will also fight for you. You used to fight. And so knowledge is power. We have understood some of those things. Some of us are also guilty of it. So we change our ways God will help us. So at this moment, I want to welcome someone that is special. The first of the session, one of our national representatives walked in, but John said something. He said, the person coming, I'm not one to untie the lace, right? So I'm going to be calling our daddy, our uncle, and our pastor to help us welcome our next Gen director to the podium, the person of our Pastor Lou, to help us welcome our distinguished guest. Let's encourage our pastor to come from.
Thank you very much. It's been a very, very engaging time. If you have enjoyed yourself in the presence of the Lord today, please put your hands together for the Lord. Praise the name of the Lord. This afternoon, we are privileged to have a list. For those of you who do not know that Next Gen has the representatives among the directors in the board of Foursquare Gospel Church in Nigeria, you should know that we do actually have a representative who is a director. Praise the name of the Lord. One of the policy-making individuals in our organization. And this afternoon, by the grace of God, we are privileged to have here our Director of Youth and Next Gen. And before we rise to welcome him to our midst, when we say youth and Next Gen, it's the Next Gen include the teens and what? And the children. So we don't just have director of youth here. We have director for both teenagers and who? And the children. So we have our father in the Lord, who is in person of Pastor Teach Adrian. Can you please put your hands together for him? Let's rise to welcome him. You're welcome, sir. We are privileged to have you. This is our ZS, Reverend John Omomeji, and our mommy, Mr. Omomeji. So we are honored to have you in the name of Jesus. This is Foursquare Gospel Church, Pedro Zonal Headquarters. And we are happy to have you in our midst. And, seated beside me here is also a very important personality in youth ministry. Is some of you know him. We call him PP. You know what that means? That is dear Pastor Opolu. Please put your hands together. He is the national, is the one holding the National Secretariat of Foursquare Gospel Church in Nigeria, the youth ministry now, I mean. So please put your hands together for him. He's also the pastor of one of our youth church in Nagada. God bless you, Pastor. Good to have you here. I don't know, so let's just bring our director. Please come, sir. God bless you, sir. Thank you for coming. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Is that all we can give to God? Praise the Lord. Are we hungry? Be honest, are you hungry? Praise the Lord. Food is coming. I'm sure. Food is coming. Praise God. For starters, I'd just also like us to put our hands together for Jesus. We can do better than this. Praise God. So quickly, I also want to recognize and celebrate some of the leaders that we have in the house. If we are seeing further, it's because we are standing on the shoulders of those who have gone ahead of us. That's the confidence that we have that has brought us to this place. So first and foremost, I want to recognize our father in the Lord, the zonal superintendent and mommy. Thank you so much for always supporting us. Thank you for always being there. Thank you for the great work that you are doing here as well. Your faith in the next generation will produce results, and you will witness it in Jesus' name. The Lord will continue to bless you. I also want to recognize pastor who we have been together in the youth ministry for many years. He has been a very stable and steady hand in youth ministry. Before he became pastor and before we used to run things together, even at community levels. But now he's the big man in the district, none other than Reverend Kabafalo. He's very celebrating. I also celebrate Pastor Lowe. Amazing. We've been together also pushing God's agenda and standing in the gap for what God wants to do. So I was supposed to take this